Around 5,000 years ago, massive empires were rising along the Nile in Egypt and between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in Mesopotamia. But thousands of miles away, in South Asia, another highly advanced society was quietly thriving, the Indus Valley Civilization. For millennia, this society was completely forgotten. It was only accidentally rediscovered in the 19th century when British engineers building a railway in Punjab stumbled upon thousands of perfectly baked ancient bricks buried in the ground. They used those bricks to lay their train tracks, unaware they were dismantling a lost metropolis. This map shows the true scale of what they eventually uncovered. The Indus Valley Civilization spanned over 1.2 million square kilometers across modern-day Pakistan, India, and Afghanistan. It dwarfed its famous contemporaries in both size and population. Yet, despite its massive size, it left behind a strange archaeological footprint. Excavators found no giant royal palaces, no monuments built to glorify rulers, and no evidence of standing armies or devastating warfare. It was a sprawling network of cities that eventually vanished into the dirt. The main reason they remain a mystery is their writing. Researchers have cataloged over 400 distinct pictographic characters from seals and pottery, but to this day, no one has been able to read them. The Indus script remains entirely undeciphered. We are left with a massive, silent society. Their existence challenges the long-held assumption that early human civilizations required powerful kings or brutal warfare to achieve such a high level of organization. Without grand temples or palaces to study, archaeologists turn to the layout of the cities themselves. Places like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were built on a strict grid system. Main streets ran perfectly straight and intersected at perfect right angles, dictating a highly organized civic plan. The builders prioritized public health over individual vanity. Nearly every multi-story house featured its own private courtyard, a dedicated freshwater well, and functional indoor plumbing. Wastewater was channeled out of individual homes and into a highly engineered network of covered street drains. They even built specific inspection holes along the routes so sanitation workers could regularly clear blockages. At the center of Mohenjo-Daro sits the Great Bath, a massive sunken brick pool sealed with natural tar to make it watertight. Instead of a private royal pool, researchers believe this was a communal hub for ritual purification and public water management. While Egyptian pharaohs commanded armies of laborers to build tombs for the dead, the rulers of the Indus Valley directed their resources toward highly functional, sanitary infrastructure designed for the daily welfare of living citizens. To support these massive cities, the Indus people relied on a robust agricultural engine. They grew wheat, barley, and sesame, and they are the first humans in history known to have cultivated cotton for textiles. This map illustrates how that agricultural surplus fueled an international trade network. Indus merchants loaded their goods onto ships and sailed across the Arabian Sea to the Persian Gulf. Ancient Mesopotamian records contain specific references to trading with a wealthy land they called Meluha, which historians identify as the Indus Valley. Back home, their artisans operated a massive export industry. They mastered the metallurgy of bronze and copper and precision-drilled precious stones to make jewelry. Interestingly, there is absolutely no evidence that they ever discovered or used iron. We can see their cultural personality in artifacts like the famous dancing girl statue. Cast in bronze using an advanced lost wax technique, her relaxed, confident posture and armful of bangles suggest a society that valued art, leisure, and personal expression. When we look for the people in charge, we find figures like the priest king. This modestly sized stone sculpture is the closest thing to a ruler ever unearthed. He wears an ornate pattern on his robe, yet holds no weapons and wears no crown. The physical evidence points toward a surprisingly cooperative model of civilization. Without brutal autocrats or standing armies, they built a highly structured, egalitarian society, that thrived on commerce and engineering for over 700 years. But around 1900 BCE, or before Common Era, this perfectly ordered network began to break down. The strict urban grids deteriorated, municipal garbage collection stopped, and the great cities fragmented. The leading scientific theory for their collapse points to drastic climate change. A massive shift in weather patterns weakened the annual monsoons, starving the region of water and permanently altering the course of the vital rivers that fed their crops. As the rivers shifted, they triggered a cascade of secondary disasters. Repeated, devastating floods buried parts of the megacities, while the loss of agricultural surplus caused their long-distance international trade networks to completely dry up. Unable to sustain millions of people in the failing urban centers, the surviving populations slowly migrated eastward toward the Ganges Basin. They left their architectural masterpieces behind to be swallowed by the earth. While their cities died, their cultural DNA survived. Artifacts like the Pashupati seal depict a central figure sitting in a cross-legged yogic pose, surrounded by wild animals. These carvings show early forms of nature worship and meditation that directly blended into the modern religions of South Asia. Until we finally crack their mysterious script, the Indus Valley Civilization remains a silent teacher. Their ruins show us that even the most stable, sophisticated societies are ultimately built on the fragile path of the rivers they depend on.